In a modest village in northern Ghana, where the dry season cracked the earth and the rainy season brought life to the fields, Amina was known as a woman of quiet strength. She was a widow in her late 30s, her husband lost to a sudden illness years before, leaving her with a small plot of land and a heart full of unspent love. Amina had no children of her own, a fact that the village women sometimes whispered about, though never with malice, for Amina was kind, always ready to share her harvest or lend a hand. But what the village would come to talk about for generations wasn't her generosity with yams or her skill at weaving baskets. It was her decision to take in 5 boys no one else wanted. The first boy was Kofi, a lanky 12-year-old with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue. He'd been orphaned when his parents perished in a market fire, and the relatives who took him in soon sent him away, claiming he was too defiant, too quick to argue. The village called him trouble, said his spirit was too wild to tame. Amina saw something else, a boy whose defiance masked a deep hurt, a longing for someone to believe in him. Then there was Kwame, barely 10, small for his age, with a limp from a poorly healed leg injury. His family had abandoned him at a distant market, unable to afford his care, and the villagers whispered that his limp was a curse, a sign of bad fortune. Kwame rarely spoke, his eyes always on the ground, as if ashamed of his existence. Amina noticed how he flinched at loud voices, but smiled faintly when she offered him a piece of boiled yam. The third was Teta, 13, broad-shouldered but hunched, as if carrying an invisible weight. His mother had been accused of witchcraft, and though the accusations were never proven, the stigma clung to Teta like dust. No family would take him in, fearing his presence would bring misfortune. He wandered the village outskirts, scavenging for food, until Amina found him sleeping under a baobab tree, his face streaked with dirt and tears. Next came Adam, 11, whose quick hands and quicker feet had earned him a reputation as a thief. He'd been caught stealing millet from a neighbor's storehouse, and though he swore it was to feed his younger sister, the village shunned him. His sister was taken in by a distant aunt, but Adam was left to fend for himself. Amina saw the shame in his eyes, but also the fierce loyalty that drove him to steal for someone he loved. The last was Ni, a quiet 9-year-old with a scar across his cheek, a mark from a fight he never spoke of. Ni had been passed from one relative to another, each claiming he was too withdrawn, too strange, his silence a burden. The village elders said he was touched by spirits, not in a sacred way, but in a way that made people uneasy. Amina saw a boy who watched the world carefully, as if waiting for it to prove it could be kind. Amina's decision to take in these boys came not from a single moment of clarity, but from a series of quiet realizations. She saw Kofi arguing with a trader over a bruised mango and recognized his hunger wasn't just for food. She saw Kwame limping behind a group of children, excluded from their games, and felt his loneliness as her own. Teta's weary eyes under the baobab tree stirred memories of her own grief after her husband's death. Adam's quick hands reminded her of her younger brother, who'd once dreamed of building things before life wore him down. And Ni's silence spoke to her own moments of doubt, when she wondered if the world could ever be gentle. One by one, she invited them to her home, a simple mud brick house with a thatched roof and a small courtyard where she grew maize and vegetables. The village was stunned. "Why take in these boys?" the elders asked. "They'll bring you nothing but